All right, now social media, what is it called? Fake news. How is it being fueled? A lot of people will say social media is the quicker vehicle for it to, but we'll look at the different sides of how that plays out. Now, news and hate speech, the social media expert Japhet Omojua joins us on phone from Abuja. Japhet, good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning. The pleasure is mine. How are you doing?
All right, it's good. And then we also have another Japhet here in the studio, publisher of The Factor, Japhet Odesonya. Japhet, good morning.
Good morning.
So there are two Japhets this morning. Japhet in Abuja, Japhet in Abuja. Now, Japhet in Abuja, Omojua, let me start with you on this. Now, when it comes to fake news, like we were trying to establish earlier on, President Donald Trump has popularized the concept of fake news. But the way it is right now, it seems people categorize almost everything as fake news. Can you really make us understand in very simple terms how we can decipher what fake news is?
I mean, fake news is simply putting out something that you know is not true. You know before sharing that it's not true, and more often than not, it has the capacity to cause more damage either to the society or specific individuals. And I think it thrives because a lot of people condone it. A lot of people would not mind that story being true because it does favor their opinion or their political interest. So there is a bit of confirmation bias around this, but also fake news has always been with us. But like you mentioned, President Trump popularized the idea. Also, alternative facts joined, and everything seems to be like in flux right now.
All right, to Japhet in the studio then. Professor Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate, said that people, the purveyors of fake news are cowards, they are sick, and they're lacking in conviction. And as a matter of fact, if fake news is not reined in, it could actually lead to some kind of third world war, in his words. How more complicated is fake news in a largely illiterate population like ours?
Thank you. The prof is absolutely correct. And I'm happy that we are getting to realize that it's a global phenomenon. It's not new, really. But I am afraid because given the level of illiteracy here, a population of over about 180 million, and you have 38% as illiterate, that's 70 million. You have another 11 million youngsters out of school children had it. Then the literacy is just 62%. It calls for concern. And that is why it festers here. It festoons here. It blossoms here. And what is fake news? Something that lacks veracity. Fabricated news. And before you know it, every Tom, Dick, and Harry begins to share it. And because we do not even have the capacity and the culture to read here, that complicates the matter. Everybody just shares. Even illiterates have access to Android. The next thing is to just share. It cannot read the content. So it's complicated here. And I think the government would do a lot better by being proactive. There are no two
proactive in what sense?
In giving out information.
Okay.
I think we must
not allowing for the communication
there must be
gap
transparency. There must be better, higher transparency on the part of the government. Open. Let's see what is going on. Let's hear from you.
All right, let's go back to Japhet Omojua in Abuja. Now, we have also heard of the issues of rumors and gossips. Can we liken that to the same thing as fake news?
I mean, if it is not true, then it's fake news. It's as simple as that. If it did not happen, then it's fake news. And the other phenomenon around fake news is that even some supposedly responsible organizations they put the fake news out, understanding that this thing is going to fly. You probably, for instance, on social media, get 5,000, 10,000 tweets, with the understanding that, a day later or a few hours later, they would come to correct themselves, knowing that correction would not fly at all. That's also there. But if it is not true, it's fake news. So whether you call it rumor, whether you call it alternative fact, whatever you call it, if it is not true, if it lacks veracity, like Japhet said in the studio, then it's fake news. It's as simple as that.
Let me stay with you, Japhet Omojua. Now, there's another twist to it, another dimension where state actors, politicians could actually dismiss facts and, you know, simply say it's fake news. How do you, you know, handle that kind of situation where news has been put out there, maybe by the media, social media, you know, conventional media, is actually facts, but governments, you know, officials will tell you, no, it's just fake news?
Funny enough, the idea of fake news in contemporary times got popular because a particular politician constantly referred to news that is true as fake news, or his surrogates referring to news that is true, or news that is a lie as alternative fact. I'm speaking about President Donald Trump. But and now a lot of politicians, not just in Nigeria, a lot of politicians around the world immediately want to qualify any news that doesn't favor them as fake news. And that's where the responsibilities, of course, not just on the media, but on citizens. If a politician, a leader, a president, or whoever constantly qualifies news that has been proven to be true as fake news, we have a responsibility to continue to beat that news, to continue to, you know, seek out for more information that would make more people understand and believe that this is the truth. But you see, politics, newscasting, all of these things, I mean, ultimately it's a game, right? Everybody's trying to influence the narrative, whether the politician, whether the news organization. And let's not forget, because there seems to be a kind of subtle understanding that fake news is about politics and is about government. Fake news can also happen to individuals and organizations that have nothing to do with government. So even though the government would have to do something about fake news related to government by making sure that the communication link between them and the people is bridged, by making sure that there's always information out there, what do we say about fake news that affects organizations, multinational organizations, individuals?
All right.
So the understanding for me is to do whatever we can to de-emphasize the power of fake news. So when big organizations engage in fake news, they've got to be punished.
All right.
I guess that's the role of
okay, Japheth, we'll come back to you. Let's put you on hold a little bit, the two Japheths. And now, what do Nigerians think of fake news and hate speech? TVC Breakfast was on the streets to find out and hear from Nigerians.
It's an election year in Nigeria, and both the government and people are concerned about fake news and hate speech. I am Abosede Omowu. Here I am on the streets to hear from the people directly what they understand by this concept and how they think it can be managed.
Hate speech simply means the kind of statements you made deliberately, probably maybe to misinform the public about somebody, or to deliberately cause hatred for a particular person. While fake news is very close, simply bringing out a wrong information, deliberately to misinform.
Fake news has no good to do to the society because people will be given wrong informations and they'll be misdirected, and it will rise their anger.
Fake news is not the best for anybody outside politicians because it can tarnish your image and ruin your career. So it is not advisable. If you get any information, it's good to verify before you tell a third party or you spread it.
It's not nice for someone to not verify something and person post it on social media or anything because it can damage that person. So it's best to know what you are doing, know the source of what you are posting or saying online before you post it, in order not to damage someone else's life or image.
In every fake news, there is iota of truth in it, because from that fake news, you might get truth or fact about something that they're talking about. But the worst part is that hate speech. Hate speech ignites hatred among people. I don't know how to put it now. Hate speech is just terrible. I don't think hate speech. In fact, hate speech is narrative they cause confusion for this Nigeria now, sir.
Detrimental again to that person's life and to that person's future. And its impact on the nation is very, very destructive. It doesn't make the nation to grow. Rather, it is retrogressive on that nation. So my suggestion is let us stop hate speech.
Don't transmit fake news. If somebody should send it to your phone, the best thing is to delete it. If they are not facts, don't send it around. You are destroying our economy. You are destroying the political nature of this country. It's not fine. You are causing commotion.
We've heard from Nigerians their opinions of hate speech and fake news. As the 2019 elections approach, let's embrace those things that move us forward as a people. Abosede Omowi, TVC News, Lagos.
Fake news and hate speech as a major threat when it comes to the political climate. Right now, Nigeria is facing the February election, the general election. It's been described as a make or mar as far as the election is concerned. So what kind of balancing act do we need to achieve to ensure that fake news, hate speech don't, jeopardize the election?
Yeah, let's go back to Professor Wole Soyinka. The sage has rightly advised that given the tendency of the Nigerian politics and the politicians, knowing very well that it's the only lucrative business, we must begin to build healthy skepticism. That is it, citizens now. Let's begin to build healthy skepticism. Let's be skeptical. Any information, available, be skeptical. Try to verify. We are lazy here. That's another major fact. Nigerians are lazy. Nigerians don't read. You go for pictures, pictorials and the rest. If we can be more skeptical, we would have, at our own individual level, edited, gate-kept, the information. When we were in school, we never heard of fake news. We heard of bad news. It's either it's a bad news or good news, but to go to the extent that you fabricate outrightly for propaganda's sake, and the neo-colonial side of it, the imperialistic side of it too, and the capitalistic side of it now. Because the clickbait is that the more people click on your news, you get some money from Google. I think that's another side to it. So it's economical. And when something becomes, a financial incentive, people rush, especially this third world. That is another fact.
All right, let's bring in Japhet Omojua in here. We know how messages, either videos or graphics or text of all kinds, are forwarded either on WhatsApp. Anyhow, you read either they are jokes or they are pieces of news forwarded back and forth. Also, the likes on Twitter and all of that. We see how all of these things go. But when it comes to identifying what fake news is, how does one verify? We know that the public would not have the patience to try to make verifications. But if we have to verify, or if anyone has to verify, how does one verify fake news? Omojua.
So the first thing is, and I think from experience, if the news is important enough, the trusted platforms will have it in no time. So I have received an email from somebody that supposedly was trying to give me a scoop. This was in 2012, that the Dana air crash was caused by the then First Lady. And, I took the email, put it on Google, and nothing came out related to this thing. And immediately I realized that somebody was trying to play prank, just trying to lie against someone. So if the news is important enough, if the news is what it's said to be, then one of the major platforms, one of the trusted platforms that have their name and reputation to protect, will either have it or will have it in no time. So take your time to, just wait. Then I heard another thing during the Vox Pop. Somebody said in every fake news there's an iota of truth. That is not true. That is not true. And the idea of fake news spreads because one of the things we believe in our society is that there is no smoke without fire. That again is not true. If you go to a chemistry lab, you can actually have some smoke without fire. Because people believe fake news because of this idea of there is no smoke without fire. Yeah. A story can be created out of nothing. That nothing in that story is true. So first of all, there can be smoke without fire, and an entire fake news can be fake without any part of it being true. But to verify, to identify fake news, to be responsible, the bulk of the consumers of news are adults. Most people that consume news are over 18. So you have a responsibility to yourself, your organization, and your family to ask yourself whether this thing you are reading is true or not. And there are many ways to do that. Go to the prestigious platforms, wait 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and eventually other people will corroborate the story or deny it, and then you can go ahead to shut it down or amplify it.
All right, thank you very much, Japheth Omojua there for joining us this morning. Japheth, one last one for you. So what's the way out now? Do we need legislation? How will that impinge on the constitutionally guaranteed freedom of speech and expression?
The right to know.
And the right to know.
we must be careful there when it comes to legislation. I don't know how that can, be actualized really. But what I know is that the government, given my own background, the government has a major role to play. Come open, I insist. Let's be more transparent. Let the government keep talking. This particular government is not talking. And that also encourages this fake news tendency. We must talk. We must engage the press. We must engage the people. We must be proactive. Information is power. It's of essence. That is my appeal to the present administration. We must get Nigeria talking by talking to Nigeria.
And talking the right things too.
Right. Get Nigeria talking by talking to Nigerians. Yes. Japheth Odesonya, thank you very much, publisher of The Factor. Thank you so much for coming. And we also thank Japheth Omojua for joining us from Abuja. Japheth Omojua is a social media expert. Thank you, gentlemen.